While most of Pokemon's mechanics are well designed or at least interesting, there are a few mechanics that definitely missed the mark. One of these is the Ace Spec trainer cards, which debuted in 2013 with black and white boundaries crossed. Ace Spec cards are 1 per deck cards, meaning you can only play one Ace Spec in your entire deck. Even if you wanted to play one with a different name, you are stuck to only playing one Ace Spec. Immediately out of the gate in Boundaries Crossed, 4 Ace Specs released, but really only 2 of them were viable at high levels of play, being Gold Potion and Computer Search. The other 2 were just kind of there, sometimes used, not really though. Computer Search discarded 2 cards from your hand, but found any 1 card from the deck. With an effect this powerful and this versatile, it's easy to see why it was the best Ace Spec by far in the original batch. We'd see some more playable Ace Specs released in the next set, especially Dowsing Machine, but really Computer Search remained the best Ace Spec for almost the entire time that it was around. When I say best Ace Spec, what I mean is that since decks are limited to only running one Ace Spec, most decks are going to just pick the objectively best one if they don't have a really specific niche, such as the Verizon Genesect deck's specific niche to use the G-Booster Ace Spec. Most decks, however, did not have a specific niche and would just play one of the 2 general consistency Ace Specs in Computer Search and Dowsing Machine, which were around at the time. This isn't to say that other Ace Specs were unviable. We saw plenty of them see use, such as the previously mentioned Gold Potion, as well as Scramble Switch and Life Dew, but it is to say that these 2 Ace Specs were far and away very popular and much better than the others. This is part of the flaw with 1 per deck mechanics like Ace Spec cards, is that when you can only play one, you're just always going to play the best one. In addition to that, Ace Specs were hard to find in this time. We had Scarlet, which was a great card to search the deck for trainer cards, but there wasn't great ways otherwise to draw through your deck quickly other than just playing your supporter card for turn. So oftentimes players who found their Ace Spec first would be at a significant advantage compared to their opponent. We also had the issue of Ace Specs being able to be reused. An item like Gold Potion seems underwhelming, healing 90 damage from your active Pokemon, until you realize that Sableye from Dark Explorers can use its Junk Hunt to get back Gold Potion every single turn, and it can get back an extra item card at that. In addition, some Ace Specs were just completely unviable. We saw G-Scope, which was another card that specifically only worked for the Verizon Genesect deck, not really see any play because it was just objectively worse than G-Booster, which was a much better attack if you were going to use this Ace Spec as the one in your deck. We also saw Ace Specs like Master Ball see almost no play because searching your deck for a Pokemon is just a very weak effect compared to an effect like Computer Search, which can search out any card. Because Ace Specs are so strong though, even after they rotated from the standard format in 2015, every single deck in the expanded format, which is a format that contains all of the cards back to 2011, would have to play an Ace Spec for all of time, mostly being Computer Search and Dowsing Machine. Weirdly, the designers of the Pokémon cards decided that the Ace Spec should make a return in Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet has increased the number of Ace Specs we see per set, and also increased the diversity in the type of Ace Specs we see, with energy cards now joining the fray and stadium cards as well. I think the Scarlet and Violet Ace Specs are a step in the right direction, and that there's no general best Ace Spec in terms of consistency. There's no reprint of Computer Search, and there's no reprint of Dowsing Machine. Despite that, though, there's been a predictable rise of the best Ace Spec being Prime Catcher, which is a very powerful gust effect, and is generally better if your deck does not have a specific Ace Spec it needs for its strategy. I do think that Ace Specs have been better done this time around, since there are more ways to use Ace Specs, especially with decks having access to Arven, which can easily search out whichever Ace Spec you want, that is not an Energy or Stadium. This is not to say, however, that the Ace Specs were better designed this time in terms of playability. Some of them, like Unfair Stamp and Prime Catcher, are going to be significantly better than cards like Dangerous Laser or Pokevital. Once again, this leads to this inequality of play, where some will see significantly more play than the others. We've also seen previously decent Ace Specs like Scoop Up Cyclone be reprinted, however its newer printing is significantly weaker as it has to compete with Prime Catcher, which is better generally than the previous staple Ace Spec Computer Search. While I think Pokemon has at least done a good job making enough specific Ace Specs that some of them see play when they otherwise wouldn't, I do think that the design philosophy of Ace Specs is still quite a flawed one. Now, what is a way that we can actually address this? How would we balance a one per deck mechanic? I think the best balancing we've seen of this mechanic is with the Prism Star cards. The Prism Star cards were one per deck, however you could play multiple Prism Stars, just not more than one of a kind. Prism Star cards also got sent to the Lost Zone when they were discarded, meaning it was very difficult to ever reuse them, if they were taken out of play. Another way that Prism Stars differentiated themselves from Ace Specs is that they were not item cards. I think Prism Stars ended up being more balanced since most of them were Pokémon, and Pokémon generally have to fulfill a very specific niche of being an attacker compared to the very broad niche of most trainer cards. We did see some very overpowered Prism Star cards though in the later part of their lifespan, mainly the ones related to lightning type Pokémon like Tapu Koko Prism Star and the Thunder Mountain Stadium card. Overall, though, if you had to ask me which one I would prefer, I much prefer Prism Stars, especially with great cards like Ditto Prism Star in the mix, compared to Ace Specs, which I just think are less fun for the game, and I think after this time should probably be retired permanently. What do you think, though, of Ace Specs, and maybe you can recommend some other bad mechanics that I should talk about in one of these future videos. Thank you all so much for watching. If you do enjoy these, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate everyone's support as the channel continues to grow and reach new viewers.